I never thought I'd be the guy writing something like this, but here I am. My name's Jake and I'm 35. I was married to Lisa for about 6 years. We had what I thought was a perfect marriage, good job, two beautiful kids, a nice house, the whole 9 yards. She always told me she was dedicated, loyal, that she loved me more than anything. Honestly, I believed her. Until last week. It started with small signs, things I brushed off at first. She started working late more often, saying she needed to finish some reports or wrap up a project. Her phone was constantly in her hand, and she'd get defensive if I even glanced at her screen. Nothing obvious, just little things that made me uneasy. But I rationalized it. Maybe she was just stressed at work. She's a manager at this big company, and I figured she's under pressure. Still, I noticed her acting secretive, and she'd get irritated if I questioned her about her late nights. Then came the day I decided to check her phone out of curiosity, something I'd never done before. I know, that's probably not the best move, but I was desperate to understand what was going on. I saw texts from her boss, Mark, that were not professional. They were flirty, suggestive. Nothing explicit at first, but enough to make my stomach turn. She'd call him babe, joke about handling things at work, and they'd text late into the night. I don't know why I didn't delete the messages, but I couldn't look away. That evening I confronted her. I showed her the texts, and her face instantly changed. She looked caught, then defensive, then downright bitchy. She told me I was overreacting, that it was just work stuff, that I was paranoid and jealous. She told me Mark was just a friend and I was imagining things. But I knew better. I felt sick, like I'd been punched in the gut. How could she lie so casually? How could she dismiss my feelings and pretend everything was fine? I felt betrayed on a level I've never experienced before. This wasn't just about the texts. It was about trust, about the fact that she was hiding something so huge from me and acting like I was the crazy one. That's when I knew. My world was about to change forever. The next couple of days were a blur. I couldn't eat, sleep, or focus on anything else. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, defiant, dismissive, like I was the one in the wrong for catching her. I kept replaying those texts, trying to understand how she could be so brazen about it. The worst part was her attitude afterward. She acted like I was overreacting, like I was making a big deal out of nothing. That bitchy smirk she'd give when I brought up her secret meetings with Mark, I'd never seen her like that before. It was like she enjoyed the power of lying, the control over the situation. I decided I needed to get more proof, just to be sure I wasn't imagining things. So I started poking around her stuff, her phone, her emails, her social media. I found more than I bargained for. Hidden messages, late-night calls, even some pictures, nothing explicit, but enough to make my stomach turn again. I found receipts from hotels, restaurant reservations she never mentioned. Every new piece of evidence made me feel more like a fool. How did I miss all this? How? Did I not see it coming? I kept asking myself if I was blind or just stupid for trusting her this long. One night I decided I'd had enough. I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I sat her down and said I knew about Mark, about the hotel nights, about all the lies. Her reaction? Oh, she flipped. She started screaming, calling me crazy, saying I was spying and invading her privacy. She told me I was insecure and that she hadn't cheated, just caught up in some harmless flirtation. She told me I was being paranoid, that Mark was just a friend she worked with, but I wasn't buying it anymore. I could see her anger, her contempt, and I realized I was dealing with someone who didn't respect me, didn't care about my feelings. The betrayal was deeper than I'd thought, and I could feel the old trust slipping away. I wondered if I even knew her at all anymore. I felt like I was living someone else's nightmare, watching the woman I loved turn into a stranger who lied and dismissed everything I felt. After that night, things only got worse. Lisa doubled down on her. Denial, acting like I was the one losing my mind. She told me I was crazy for thinking she'd cheat, that I was just insecure and jealous. She threw it in my face, saying I was paranoid and that I should trust her because she's been faithful all these years. But I knew the truth deep down. Every time she looked at me with that smug little smile, I wanted to scream. How could she treat me like I was the idiot here? How could she lie so effortlessly, as if her betrayal was nothing more than a joke? I was angry but also deeply hurt. I mean, I'd built my entire life around her, trusted her with everything. And now I find out she's been sneaking around behind my back, spending nights in some hotel room with her boss while telling me she was working late. It was like a punch to the chest every time I thought about it. I felt stupid for not noticing the signs sooner, for not trusting my instincts. But mostly, I just felt betrayed. The woman I thought I knew was gone, replaced by someone who lied, cheated, and dismissed my feelings without second thought. I kept asking myself how I could have been so blind, so naive. In the days that followed, I started to feel this strange mixture of rage and sadness. Rage because she'd hurt me so badly, and sadness because I still loved her, even after everything. I couldn't understand how things had gone so wrong. I kept replaying the moments of our marriage, trying to find where I went wrong, why I didn't see the signs. I thought about all those nights I stayed up, worrying about her, and how I dismissed my gut instincts. I questioned whether I could ever trust her again or if this was the end of everything we built. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I was at a crossroads. Either I let this destroy me or I find a way to fight back. I wasn't ready to give up, but I knew I had to decide soon. I spent the next couple of days in a fog, trying to figure out what my next move should be. Part of me wanted to confront her again, demand the truth, and maybe get some honest answers this time. But part of me knew it was pointless. She'd already lied so much that I wasn't sure I could believe anything she said anymore. Every time I looked at her, I saw that smug, dismissive look, and it made my blood boil. I knew I had to do something more, something that would make her see I wasn't just going to roll over and accept her betrayal. I started planning my revenge. Nothing crazy, just enough to make her realize how much she'd screwed up. I didn't want to hurt her physically, but I wanted her to feel the pain she'd caused me, the way she'd shattered my trust. I decided I'd set up a situation that would expose her lies in front of everyone, maybe in front of her boss, Mark, or even the office. I wanted her to know that her actions weren't just affecting me. They were damaging her reputation, her career, everything she cared about. So I enlisted the help of a friend who's good at this kind of thing. We set a trap, an email draft, a fake conversation, a hidden camera. I wanted proof, undeniable proof, that she was still lying, still hiding things. I knew she'd be tempted to deny everything, but I was counting on her to slip up. I wanted her to feel the same betrayal I felt, but on her own terms. I was furious, but I was also determined. This wasn't just about catching her cheating. It was about making her see that I wasn't going to be played like a fool anymore. I was ready to show her the consequences of her actions, and I was going to do it in a way she wouldn't forget. The day I executed my plan was like walking on a knife's edge. I had everything set up, secret recordings, an email account I created just for the purpose, and a fake message I knew she'd never resist looking at. I wanted her to see that her lies were catching up with her, that I wasn't going to let her keep living in this fantasy world where she thought she could cheat and get away with it. That evening, I deliberately left my phone lying around, knowing she'd notice it. Sure enough, she did. She saw the email I sent to her boss, Mark, claiming I knew everything and demanding a meeting to discuss her inappropriate behavior. I watched, her face twist in disbelief when she read it, her eyes darting back and forth. But what really floored me was her reaction. Instead of panic or guilt, she got angry, really bitchy. She threw her phone down, screaming that I was crazy, that I'd stalked her, that I was just jealous and insecure. Then she did something I didn't expect. She picked up her phone and called Mark right in front of me. Her voice was sharp, confrontational. She told him she needed to talk about the situation, and that they had to clear things up. I sat there, stunned, watching her turn into this aggressive, manipulative version of herself. It was like she thought she could still spin her way out of everything, act like I was the one causing trouble. That moment was a turning point for me. Seeing her so brazen, so unapologetic, made me realize I couldn't keep pretending that things could go back to the way they were. Her anger, her lies, they all confirmed what I'd suspected for a while. She had no intention of stopping, no remorse, no respect for me anymore. I felt a strange mix of humiliation, rage, and heartbreak. The woman I once loved had become someone I didn't recognize, someone who lied and manipulated to protect her own skin. I knew then that I had to make a choice, whether to fight for the marriage or finally accept that it was over. And deep inside, I knew what I had to do. The days that followed were the hardest I've ever experienced. Confronting her, seeing her arrogance, and witnessing her call Mark right in front of me finally broke whatever shred of hope I had left. I sat there staring at her, realizing that the woman I'd trusted for years was gone, replaced by someone I didn't even recognize. The betrayal cut so deep I wasn't sure I'd ever recover. I felt a strange mixture of relief that I finally knew the truth and intense sadness for how much I'd lost. I didn't want to stay in that house anymore, not with her around, so I moved out. It was a brutal decision, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. I filed for divorce, and as much as it hurt to let go of my marriage, I knew it was the only way to heal. I spent weeks trying to piece my mind back together, working through the feelings of betrayal, anger, and heartbreak. I realized I'd been so blind for so long, trusting her, believing in our life together when she was out there, lying, cheating, and acting like I was the crazy one. What I learned from all this: trust is fragile. It takes years to build, but it can be shattered in a second. And once it's broken, it's almost impossible to fix. I also learned that sometimes you have to take matters into your own hands to get the truth. The pain of knowing the reality is far better than living in a lie. I don't hate her. I just see her as someone who lost herself somewhere along the way. Now I'm focusing on myself and my kids. We're trying to heal, trying to move forward. It's been a long road, and I won't lie. There are still nights when I wonder what I did wrong or if I could have saved what we had. But I also know that I deserve honesty, respect, and loyalty. No one should accept anything less. If there's one thing I want others to take from this, it's that. No matter how perfect you think your marriage is, always trust your gut. Sometimes the biggest betrayals come from the people you least expect, and you have to be prepared to face the truth, no matter how painful.